Hello, I'm Michael Popa, Executive Director of Mainstream Coalition, and welcome to the fourth of 5 Johnson County primary candidate forums co-presented by the League of Women Voters of Johnson County, ACLU of Kansas, Advocacy and Awareness Group of Johnson County, Mid-America LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and Mainstream Coalition. Tonight, we'll hear from the 4 candidates running for Overland Park Mayor. But before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. For those of you joining us on Zoom tonight, we are offering closed caption through a third-party service. So if you don't see the closed caption, please click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. If time permits at the end, we will also take questions using the Q&A feature. That button can also be found at the bottom of your screen. If you are on a mobile device, then you may have to hit the More button or swipe to find those options. We're going to place a link to the forum guidelines into chat, but I want to hit the high points right here. Each question will be asked to all candidates. Candidates will then have 2 minutes to answer each question. And then time permitting at the end, each candidate will have 1 minute for closing remarks. The remaining time for each question and candidate will be placed in the chat. The partner organizations co-sponsoring this forum believe that democracy works best when citizens are informed and active. Thank you for taking the time to learn about these candidates that are currently running for office and the important issues that surround these races. And now, I'd like to welcome our moderator this evening, Linnea McKenzie with the Advocacy and Awareness Group of Johnson County.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
As Michael said, I'm the president of the Advocacy and Awareness Group of Johnson County, and our organization advocates for underrepresented groups in Johnson County by bringing awareness to their value in our community, organizing events centered around diversity, and educating all people about what the definition of social justice truly means. With that said, we are super excited to be a part of this forum today, and we look forward to working with the future mayor on these initiatives. So without further ado, I'll start by making a quick introduction for all of our candidates tonight. First, we'll start by welcoming Michael Zinnigy.
Hello, thank you, Linnea.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Faris Farasati.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Clay Norkey. Thank you, Clay. And finally, I'd like to welcome Kurt Skoog.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here. So let's go ahead and get started with the first question tonight. Leaders are visionaries. What projects need to be addressed? First, we'll start with you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm a resident of Overland Park for 30 years. I've raised all 3 of my children here, and we're committed to Overland Park. I'm running for mayor of Overland Park because it's changing right in front of our eyes, and it's accelerating over the past 5 to 10 years. Luxury and regular apartment high-rises and apartment cities are being developed everywhere in Overland Park. Within 2 miles of my house, there are 39 apartment complexes and over 520 vacant apartments. OP was founded as a residential community of single-family homes and planned neighborhoods. I believe the 3 critical things and initiatives we need to do to move forward is, first of all, restoring the voice of residents. We are a victim of overdevelopment. Developers have taken over the city, in large part, the City Council and Planning Commission allowing it to happen. Overdevelopment is causing congestion and residents to leave our community. We need to return to the recipe for success and having quality neighborhoods and strong quality of life. We need to deal with rising crime. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation says that between 2016 and 2019, violent crime is up 33% and property crime is up 14%. We need to support law enforcement to hire, train, and retain officers we can. And I've been endorsed by Sheriff Calvin Hayden of the Johnson County Sheriff's Department. Lastly, we need to reform tax incentives. Tax subsidies should be an arrow in our quiver, not the prime lure to bring business and apartments and everything else here. We need to use them, but use them judiciously. They're not for prime real estate like 135th and Knoll and Prairie Fire. They shouldn't be for apartments. They can be used for rundown, non-attractive areas, but we can also use them to bring new business that is additive to our community, that brings high quality jobs to our community.
Thank you, Mike.
Our quality of life.
Thank you, Mike. Same question, Ferris.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we released our plan for Overland Park called OP 2025. And for the last 4 years, I have been saying that the fiscal responsibility takes the central role in this. Over $500 million given away to a bunch of luxury, unaffordable apartment complexes. Since 2018, I have been saying that that's not the way to go. That defunds our schools, defunds our libraries, parks, and our first responders. And that's in contrast with philosophy of taxation. I believe taxation is only legitimate when it puts the services back for the people. And then when you incentivize luxury apartments, there is a social equity justice issue with that too. So that's the number one pillar of my OP 2025. The second one is bringing the voice of the people, aligning the priorities of the government with the people. I have suggested 5 advisory committees that we can get to them on inclusivity, on quality of life, on budget, on public safety. All of these brings people to the table, to the discussion. And the last one is an evidence-based government. It's in perfect alignment with League of Women Voters' objective to do thorough studies. I am a scientist, and I believe that the government should act on the basis of evidence. Therefore, I want to establish 2 important offices, Office of Research and Development and Office of Media Relations, in a way that what your city, your government does for you is not covered with a stone wall in front of the media the way that it is right now. And I believe these would promote inclusivity, would promote people coming to discussion, being in the kitchen instead of being at the dining table. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. And I look at the government as a scientific topic, not too much of a political topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ferris. Same question, Clay.
Thanks, Linnea. Well, I am running for mayor primarily because of my 9 kids that I have. They are getting into adulthood, and I want to make sure that Overland Park is a place that they will want to call home. They need affordable living, they need good, high-paying jobs, and they need policies and amenities that they want, that will be attractive to them. So to get back to your initial question, what projects should we be focused on? Number one, I think we need to improve the transparency and accountability of local government at all levels. That includes looking at our mental health responding and putting mental health as a primary objective going forward. Number two is looking at affordable living, affordable homes. If somebody works in Overland Park, they should be able to afford to live in Overland Park. So we need to address that missing middle that we have. And we can do that by using the housing toolkit the United Community Services has presented to us. And that is one way to look at how to address this affordability issue. Number three is having safe, connected, and sustainable neighborhoods. And that includes infrastructure. We have to address infrastructure needs throughout the city, especially with climate change happening. And we actually have flooding happening in certain parts of our city. So we need to address these issues upfront and sooner than later. So transparency and accountability, culture throughout all our government, affordable living, and safe, connected, and sustainable neighborhoods are the top 3.
Thank you, Clay. Kurt, same question, and you're on mute.
Could you repeat your question, please? I think maybe
Absolutely, I'm happy to. Leaders are visionaries. What projects need to be addressed?
Thank you for that. Thank you, Linnea, and for everybody for hosting today. I'm Kurt Skoog, and I've been on the council for 16 years and I'm proud of what we have built. We built the highest rated city in the Midwest to live, work, and play, all while keeping our neighborhoods safe and keeping our tax rate the lowest in the state of Kansas. Half of our friends across the county in Leawood. You know, vision is a key part of what a mayor needs to do. And I'm proud of the vision that I brought when I first came to the council, which was what became Vision Metcalf, which was focusing on aging strip centers and what those neighborhoods need to be moving forward. We brought together the largest discussion in the city's history and built a consensus of what we wanted our city to be in the future. Next year, we're going to have that same opportunity again. And if you elect me as mayor, I will help lead us all to a consensus on what Overland Park should be for the next 10 years. We're going to be updating our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is the playbook that the city will use to move forward. And it will be based on the largest public participation ever. We'll have work groups that are focused on housing because we need to continue to grow our attainable housing. We'll have work groups on being a more welcoming community because we will not be successful as a community unless we have everybody participating in our future. And we will have one on infrastructure. So my vision is to take all of our input
Thank you,
and
Kurt.
move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your responses to that question. Let's go ahead and move on to question 2. What specific actions should your city take or continue to do to ensure affordable housing is available? For this question, we'll start with you, Ferris.
All right. So actually, I submitted this question back to another media outlet. So it's a scientific topic one more time. I'm sorry I have to repeat myself in terms of the scientific. When we look across this nation, the models are in front of us. We need to look at them. We also need to get away from just saying things that are outside the jurisdiction or capacity of the local government. What mechanism exists? If you look at Seattle, Los Angeles, if you look at San Francisco, there are a number of funding mechanisms, such as acceleration funds, such as house funding authorities, that they fund themselves by charging developments a certain fee, and then bringing that to a pot, and then using that to help other developers who want to promote workforce housing, attainable housing, or affordable housing. That has not happened in the city of Overland Park. For the last 10, 12 years, we have given away hundreds of millions of dollars to luxury apartments, which not only not helps affordability, but hurts it. And the people of Overland Park want to stop this because it does not work for them or the future of their children. So that's one mechanism we could have. The other mechanisms, a perfect example of it is Denver and Minneapolis. What they do is that they look at long-term affordability. For example, they provide vouchers to low and very low income families to buy high energy efficient appliances. For example, they promote responsible rent to own programs, not the predatory ones. They promote connectivity between housing establishments and daycare so you don't have to travel across the city. These needs money. We need to be fiscally responsible. We need to charge taxes when taxes are due, and then with a scientific approach, with an evidence-based approach, design it in a way that we could help workforce housing in our city. Unfortunately, that has been forgotten.
Thank you, Ferris.
And we can do it now. Thank you.
Same question, Clay.
There we go. So affordable housing is it's a critical piece of going forward. Like I said earlier, if you work in Overland Park, you should be able to afford to live in Overland Park. And there's a lot of things that we can do as far as affordable housing goes. And So it's not a single bullet. We have to use multiple arrows from our quiver. And we also have to have a good public engagement as to help guide us. And the housing study recently done by United Community Services did just that. It had hundreds and hundreds of hours of folks dedicated to looking in to what the options could be for affordable housing. So right there, that's a key tool that we have to use. We'd be foolish to ignore it, and we'd be wise to take it to the next level. There are a lot of things in there that we can look at. I've been focusing on the missing middle, where we have, I want our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers to be embedded in our community, to have their kids go to school in the community where they work, so they can live in that community. It's all a part of being integral parts and members of the community. So some of the ways we can do that are looking at pocket neighborhoods, attached homes, building smaller homes on smaller lots. There's a lot of different things. We have to look at the overall cost of home ownership as well. We can use the Overland Park's the land bank. We can establish a housing trust fund. There's so many different options, but we have to talk about it and we have to take steps toward it.
Thank you, Clay. Same question, Kirk.
Thank you, Lene. I'm proud to say that for the 16 years I've been on this council, I've been working on this issue. It started with Vision Metcalf. Vision Metcalf was a community discussion about how we're going to reuse aging commercial centers. And the community came together and made the decision that it's appropriate to put density along our major corridors. And that density is enabling us to have our first new multifamily housing inside 435 in over 30 years. So we've proven to the market that you can build housing inside 435 and be successful. Now we have to focus on making those projects attainable, and we'll do that. We have been successful already in 3 projects. One is the conversion of a former motel, and what's in process at 2 existing extended stay hotels that are being converted into apartments. And those will be attainable housing because of the reuse of an existing structure allows for those rents to be affordable. I'm really excited about those steps that we're taking. At 87th and Floyd, I worked with neighbors for them to approve a higher density project that will provide affordable and attainable housing over near the main library on 87th Street. So in my 16 years, I've implemented things and made things happen. We've got lots to go. The Johnson County Housing Study well, you can't see it because of my picture, gives us a great roadmap of how we can continue to move down this path of adding housing, because we need housing for our firemen and our policemen and our teachers and our service workers, because we want them to be a key part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Mike.
I thank you. And I agree that we should have affordable housing in Overland Park. And Overland Park already has a variety of neighborhoods with homes across the spectrum of prices, with entry-level homes all the way up to estate homes. Overland Park needs to continue to focus on providing that wide variety of homes, and whether they're single-family homes, condos, attached homes, or other types of things. As a personal example, my daughter is a teacher. She's a teacher in a Catholic school, so their pay scale is even below that of a teacher, which is paid a lot less than firefighters and policemen. And after 3 to 4 years after graduating from deaf education with her graduate degree, she bought her first home with her own savings and her own ability to do that. She was married last year. Her husband and her, who is also a teacher in a Catholic school, again, below many of the other income levels, bought their first home together and they have their first baby. So the model works. It's savings, investment, living a frugal life. And so you can save for something and achieve something. And the formula works, and then buy your house. Affordability is a function of hard work and savings over time, not immediate gratification. And people in Overland Park have worked and saved to avail themselves of suburban lifestyle. And that's what we want. Current homeowners shouldn't be forced to live with high density apartment complexes in their neighborhoods, regardless of the price point of the apartment complex coming in, whether it's designed for luxury homes, luxury buyers, or lower income buyers. We have affordable homes in Kansas City. We need to continue to focus on that and make different varieties available to them and encourage people to save and work towards that lifestyle.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you all for your responses to that question. Let's go ahead and start with question 3. Tell us about your experience with managing a large budget. For this question, let's start with you, Clay.
All right, thanks. So managing budgets is something that I've done in a variety of different organizations, whether that's been in a Church of the Resurrection, the largest United Methodist congregation in the country. I chaired the board of trustees and the church council, and those are some of the things that we looked at, is looking at the budget, taking funds that are certainly not ours, but charitable gifts, and managing a large organization. I also do that with the Blue Valley Recreation Commission. That is also a tax-funded organization. We take tax funds, we have a large budget, and we have to make sure that we are using the funds that have been given to us appropriately for the entire community. As an example of that, at Blue Valley Rec, while I've been there, our traditional focus has been youth programming. But we made a conscious decision to start focusing on senior programming as well. So we decided that we're going to look at the entire community, not just on that primary focus that we had been doing traditionally, because we're all paying into Blue Valley Recreation. So we wanted to make sure that we're giving back to the entire community. But the budget process it's a tedious process. It takes a long time. You have to be diligent. You have to be aware, and you have to rely on staff, the expertise of staff, and you have to hold them accountable, and ask the tough questions and look for cuts, explanations of why expenditures are being made, and set reasonable expectations with them.
Thank you, Clay. Same question, Kirk.
Thank you, Linnea. Well, I have had experience with budgets both in the public sector and private sector. So at my current job, I'm the branch manager of a small business. And so I watch every penny come and go as we serve our clients and serve our employees. I have been on the Overland Park City Council for 16 years. And our current budget that's proposed is $300 million. And the role of a council member is to play an active role in the development of that budget by setting priorities and advocating for expenditures, as well as prioritizing what the priorities are for our residents, and providing stewardship, because the city of Overland Park is responsible for its infrastructure for decades and centuries to come, we hope. On top of that, I'm the current chair of the Bi-State Commission, which oversees the Union Station facility. So we look at budgets of operations of Union Station. So I've done that. I'm been chair and board member of the Mid-America Regional Council. The Mid-America Regional Council is the council of governments for the 8-county area around Kansas City. We administer federal grants as well as other donations and projects. And so my experience in managing budgets in both the public and private sector, in the grant and just city tax dollars is wide, and I'm prepared to be mayor on day one because of my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Same question, Mike.
Thank you. Great question. First of all, again, I live in Overland Park and I have a passion for this community, and I've giving up my retirement to run for office and hold this office to help Overland Park. I have 44 years of executive business experience, much of that here in Overland Park. I've run large organizations and I've solved complex business problems and managed large $100 million budgets. I have 17 years as a CIO of Applebee's and AMC here in Overland Park, 8 years as a partner with Ernst & Young, 8 years as a partner with United Research, and 8 years at IBM. I have a great deal of experience solving large, complex problems, running large organizations that are diverse with their purpose and their individuals within it. It's key to establish relationships with coworkers, finding common ground, collaborating, having spirited, respectful debate, and finding the best solution possible at the city, federal, and state level. I've been the chair of the KVC Behavioral when we built the facility at the Overland Park, Olathe Medical Center. I've worked with some of the largest companies in America and helped them solve billion-dollar problems at DuPont, P&G, Clorox, and Grumman Aircraft. I'm the only candidate with extensive executive experience running large organizations and running $100 million budgets. And I'd like to put that experience to work in Overland Park to solve some of the issues that we have with budget and with direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Ferris, same question.
Thank you. So at personal level, I'm a cancer scientist. I have raised grants. I have got grants over $6-7 million for my for my research lab. Therefore, I had to manage it. Otherwise, my lab would be in trouble. So from federal entities, from U.S. Department of Defense, from a state, from non-governmental organization, I live by essentially applying for grants. That's number one. Number two is that I am also, last 5 years, I have had the pleasure of working on the city budget to the best of my capacity. But what I want to bring to your attention is that I believe I and another council member, we are the only ones who ever went to the community and had a community conversation about the budget, explaining it, getting input from people. This is people's money at the end of the day. I have never heard of any other council member, with all due respect, that they had budget-specific conversation with the community, and that's absolute necessity. You don't design and develop budget in a vacuum. And that's where the difference between somebody who has a business budget experience comes with a council member and elected official. We have at the national level, we have had a lot of discussion about business experience. That model I respect, but it's not in full one-to-one harmony with what a government should do. These are two different animals. It's applicable, but it cannot be fully credited as that model. The last thing is that I am proposing in OP 2021-2025 a citizen advisory commission on the budget. They have it in Virginia, North Carolina, Colorado, Florida. We need to let people come. We need to listen to them. We have our experts who then adjust the budget according to their priorities. I'm also a fan of zero-based budgeting, because that essentially takes a lot of base out of at designing a budget in a vacuum. So these are my priorities and my experiences with the budget.
Thank you, Ferris.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your responses to that question. Let's go ahead and start with question 4. Government works best when the decision makers work together for the people they represent. What is your approach to bringing diverse viewpoints together to get things done for Overland Park? All right, for this question, we'll start with Kurt.
Thank you, Linnea. Well, I think you can look at my 16-year history on the Overland Park City Council of bringing together diverse perspectives to get things done. I refer again to Vision Metcalf, which was the largest public participation of any project at its time, where we brought in everybody to think about repurposing aging commercial strip centers. During that, we had extensive activity to reach out to all parts of the community, because it's important as we reimagine the future of our city that we have everybody at the table to look at that vision. During the budget process, there's lots of public discussion about what's a priority for our community. We do that through one-on-one conversations, through public hearings, and through survey mechanisms that are set up so that we get voices of all different parts of the community. And I think most importantly, as we move forward to the comprehensive plan next year, we already are putting our plans together to make sure all groups are included in that discussion. We want everybody around the table. We want to capture everybody's ideas, because our community will only be successful if everybody is at the table and is part of the solution. Thank you, Linnea.
Thank you, Kurt. Mike, same question.
Oh, thank you. Diversity of thought is and backgrounds and everything is a critical aspect of how we move forward and how we make quality decisions. And it has been an integral aspect of how I've managed and led in the large organizations I've worked with. At AMC, at Applebee's, at Ernst & Young, there was a wide diversity of all those things. As I said in my opening statement, restoring the voice of the people, of the residents of Overland Park, is one of the most critical things we need to do. And that includes understanding and having diverse feedback to the council and input to the council, whether it's advisory groups or in front of the council when we're discussing things, diverse background and life experiences, how they grew up, what kind of socioeconomic background did they have, diverse beliefs, whether it's religious or other beliefs that contributes to their background, diverse lifestyles, diversity in ethnicities. All those things need to be factored in, and you need to seek those voices out to help make decisions, and then encourage people to come forward and be a part of those groups. Sometimes the hardest thing is just to get people to participate, and you need to encourage that and go out and seek those voices of the residents or within an organization. You can ask people that I've worked with that have been in my organizations at AMC, where we were 300 strong in IT. That's how we made decisions. We got diverse people involved. Even my direct reports came from a lot of different walks of life. And we had great conversations because they all had different backgrounds. And that's what made our decisions so good, because we incorporated them into what we wanted to do. We had spirited, respectful debate, and we came out with good decisions. And that's what we need to do.
Thank you, Mike. Same question, Ferris.
All right. So when you look at the definition of diversity, it goes all the way from race, culture, age to point of view, simply. So then you have to design a system that has entry points for diversity. There is an organization named City for All Women, which has essentially a manual. They have done research with significant level of backup from World Health Organization, from Carleton University. And the meat to it is that you have to provide points of entry for people to the governmental system that you are running. And these points of entry in my plan is designed as those advisory commissions that I mentioned. So now that's the mechanism that we need to promote. But what I have done so far, because some of my friends here, they refer to things that I have record on doing them. Public comments. City of Overland Park never had a public comments. 2019, I proposed it, fought for it for 1 year. We established it, and now people can come in front of the council and talk freely. Some of them tried to cut the cameras on public comments. We defeated that attempt as well. That's a point of entry for diversity, for people to come and talk. And we saw that in action significantly last year about social justice issues. We saw it. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is that when we look at Overland Park, you have seen how different views are somewhat suppressed from being spoken with, in terms of zoning, in terms of tax giveaways, in terms of recently US 69. I believe we have a fiduciary duty to make that culture go away. Referring to people as naysayers, referring to people as mob when they express their views does not speak highly. It's not an absolute pattern, but the problem exists and we need to work on it. And I have a specific
Thank you,
aims and
Ferris.
plans to pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Clay.
All right, thanks. I am committed to raising up new voices. We cannot keep recycling the same people in positions over and over and over again. We have to raise up people. And we do that by electing new bold leaders, and we do that by bringing them along with us. Because we need diverse voices from throughout the community, whether that be race, religion, sexual orientation, gender, age, or from the north end of the city or the south end of the city. We have to make sure that all those voices are being heard at the city level. I am committed to bringing those folks along and looking for qualified folks to fill task forces, committees, commissions, raising up new leaders to run for new positions, to run for elected positions and officer positions. That's how we do it. We invest in people. So to make Overland Park more welcoming and more inclusive, we have to be sure that all diverse voices are being heard from throughout the city, and we're paying attention to it.
Thank you, Clay. And thank you all for your responses to that question. Let's go ahead and move forward on question 5. What will be your main focus when it comes to improving public safety? For this question, we'll start with you, Mike.
Improving public safety is one of the most critical things that we need to face in Overland Park, along with many other cities across the country. Many cities across the country, we've been in the news, whether it's Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, and Chicago, crime is rising, but it's very visible. We don't see that as much in Overland Park that is made public, but it is in fact here. Violent crime, according to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, since 2016 is up 33%. Property crime is up 14%. If you doubt that, go to next door neighbor and look at the website and see all the break-ins that are happening. It is the most frequent topic as I've walked the hundreds of homes as part of this campaign that people want something done about. I am a strong supporter of law enforcement. I've been endorsed by Sheriff Calvin Hayden of the Sheriff's Department in Johnson County. We need to have the best officers. We need to fund the police to make sure we're able to hire, retain, and train the police to be able to act in split seconds for life and death situations and patrol our streets and work with mental health professionals to make sure that we're providing the right kind of coverage on our streets to help the people that need to be helped and protect the citizens that need to be helped. We cannot defund the police. It will never happen as long as I'm mayor. We need to make sure they're funded, that the police officers are appreciated in our neighborhood because they are a part of our neighborhood. They are the critical element to keep us safe and secure so that our city can move forward.
Thank you, Mike. Ferris, same question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So again, talking about a little bit of mileage and history. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I and another council member were the only ones who were pursuing hazard pay for first responders, for police, for fire, for ambulance people. The others, unfortunately, didn't even want to discuss it. It was at the peak of the time that they were dying from coronavirus and the number of deaths in public safety personnel was even more than doctors and nurses. Then I had the honor and the pleasure of working with our late officer Michael Mosher on that. And that's why the Mosher family has been supporting me, and I'm just honored that they do that and they endorse me. So when we talk about these narratives, we have to go and look at who has done what, who has been there, and what the plan is now moving forward. Number one is that do not take the necessary budget away from the public safety by giving it to multi-billion-dollar luxury developers. At the same night that we denied $600,000 for first responders, we handed over $6 million to a billion-dollar company. Number one thing I do is that I provide them with appropriate level of budget. Number two is that evidence-based policing is a department at George Mason University. We need to open our eyes towards public safety as a scientific topic, as a technical topic. There are strategies, there are studies. We need to infuse our public safety with research in a way that their effectiveness goes up. And we need to get away from this politics of thought and prayers. I support our public safety, but then I don't want to extend a helping hand to them in the middle of a pandemic. We have plans for that, science-based plans, research-based plans, and I will pursue them to the best of my capacity as the mayor. I have proposed a citizen advisory commission on public safety. No politician there, people, public safety personnel talking to each other, and we support the goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferris. Clay, same question.
All right. We ask a lot of our men and women in the police force. We ask a lot of them, and we have to fully support them. I also am not a defund the police guy. I think we need to be putting more resources and more training into our police force. And we have to rethink how we do policing into the future. I want to work with the chief. I want to work with other office holders and other stakeholders to find a way to move forward with policing now that we are a big city and we have to address these things before we start having big city problems. So that's one thing we need to do. And the big main focus, so to answer your question, is mental health, is the mental health response. I think it's beyond time that we're sending police officers with revolvers, tasers, bulletproof vests, full uniforms for a teenager who's having a mental health crisis. That doesn't make sense to me. I think we need to look at models across the country that have tried different things, such as Denver's STAR program, where they sent trained social workers out on certain calls to deal with mental health issues. We don't need to be asking our police officers to deal with those types of issues. We need to look at places like San Antonio and their behavioral health unit, where they have folks like Ernie and Joe, crisis cops. They go out, plain clothes, trained officers. They're actually ex-military, some of them. And when they go out and deal with these folks on a personal basis for de-escalation and dealing with the mental health issues that are out there. So those are some of the things that we need to look at. I think that's what modern policing on the mental health side.
Thank you, Clay. Thank you. Kurt, same question.
Thank you, Linnea. You know, I find it a little interesting, this conversation. It seems to me that nobody besides me has attended any public safety committee meeting that we've had in the city for the last 5 or 10 years, or looked at the budget that we have for our police department. We have, first of all, we have the best police officers in the country. They're dedicated and they serve our residents well. We have the best police department, best professional police department in the region, if not in the Midwest. And the reason is because I have supported and the council has supported continuing to fund to provide our officers with what they need to be effective. This last year, we gave them an average of a 10% pay raise through their pay raise system. Our police officers are not underpaid. I always wish we could pay them more, but they are not underpaid. So as we look forward, we just finished a year-long process called the Mental Health Task Force for Overland Park. And they looked at all the mental health, what other departments in other parts of the country are doing in helping with mental health. And they presented their report and their recommendations. And I'm proud that in the 2022 budget that we'll have a public hearing on in September, it includes adding 11 new positions to the police department. 11 new positions to the police department that are dedicated to helping people that are having behavioral health issues or mental health challenges. That group is building on what we've been doing for the last 5 to 10 years with mental health co-responders. So Overland Park, we have one of the best police departments in the country. We are implementing changes and funding our
Thank you,
people.
Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for your responses to that question. Let's go ahead and focus on question 6. Mayors have many responsibilities which differ from city to city. Which of these responsibilities do you personally consider the most important for Overland Park? For this question, let's start with you, Ferris.
I believe mayor it is true that it has a role as a visionary. However, the concept of leadership in the year 2021 has shifted away from I am the leader to the concept that I can provide a facilitation, a conversation for a system, the breathing room for a dynamics that could produce results for you guys. In science, it's like that. In politics, it should be like that. In government, it should be like that. The leadership of a 200,000 people city should be defined in a system that is based on evidence, that is based on logics, and moves forward and applies appropriate revisions frequently. The style of the leadership that we are being preached is something that has expired probably 20 years ago for Overland Park. And you saw the clash between the people over a number of issues with this style of leadership, which I respectfully refer to as a status quo, over the rezoning, over the social rights, over the budget, over a situation even as a gazebo in downtown Park. So what I'm trying to say is that the term leader is now open to somebody who facilitates logical thinking, evidence-based attitude, and provides mechanistics for that. And I think that's the most important function of a mayor. It is not to say this is the way it's supposed to be. It's not to say that is vision for this city and you guys are only here to support it. And that's unfortunately what we have. And you have plain statements out of this status quo that we know where you need to go and our duty is to push you to go that way. I don't think of it. I am more towards an academic version of the leadership. So that's my definition for the umbrella role of a mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferris. Clay, same question.
All right, I think the most important thing, one of the most important things that the mayor can do is set the tone. I think it's important that we set a tone of full transparency and accountability, number one. Number two, collaboration and working together. And number three, being an advocate for our city. So setting the tone for transparency and accountability, that is coming out and celebrating our successes and acknowledging the failures upfront, right away. That has not been what I've seen over the last 3.5 years. And the handling of the John Elber shooting is a huge example of that. We need to address these things up front and head on. The other issue with collaboration and working together, we have to have a leader that can have the respect of his colleagues. So we have to work together on the council. We have to collaborate and work together with other leaders in the metropolitan area so we can move the entire community forward. We need to work together with our leaders in Topeka and at the federal level so we can also get policies and funding for our goals here in Overland Park. And finally, the mayor has to be an advocate for our city. The mayor has to be out there. In today's world, that's what our residents want. They want to see us in action, and that we have to make sure that we are acting on behalf of the people. We have to have that good public engagement. We have to have their feedback. We have to act on for the people, and we have to act responsibly. So advocating for the city at all levels is incredibly important. Thanks.
Thank you, Clay. Mike, same question.
Thank you. I think there are two key things, and it's the same working within city government in a large organization or in a business within a large organization, and their collaboration and problem solving. You have to be able to collaborate with your peers, with residents, within the city, within the state, within the county, and with businesses, and advocate for things that are going on there. You need to be able to bring them together. You need to be able to get things done through other people. And that's key, that you have solid working personal relationships with people. Know who they are, know what their experience is, know what their good and bad points are, so you can work with that and bring out the best in everyone. Be able to collaborate across the spectrum of people that you're dealing with. Second, problem solving. We need to be able to deal with complex issues and find alternatives through analysis and find the way to get to a good answer. That's again where the diversity of thought comes in. So you have to be able to collaborate. The leader needs to be able to bring people together. As I said, get things done through people, and relationships with your peers are critical to do that. Then you can go about the business of solving problems effectively and moving forward and getting them implemented. Again, that comes back to collaboration and getting it implemented.
Thank you, Mike. Kurt, same question.
Thank you. Well, the mayor is the public face of the city and its residents, and the mayor must be a public leader and represent the residents and the businesses in a out front way, which is key. Once you do that, then you have the ability to build consensus. We need to build consensus across our community. That's why I have put in the budget, doing the comprehensive plan next year, is to facilitate building that consensus in a public way. We have to build consensus across the county. We have to build consensus across the region and within the state of Kansas. That's why my background on the Mid-America Regional Council, which is the association of cities, which is made up of 119 cities and 8 counties, has enabled me to build relationships around the region. And then the last thing is you have to get things done. Residents will have expectations from their city to invest in infrastructure, to invest in the future, so that our children and our grandchildren make the choice to live here in Overland Park instead of Indianapolis or Dallas or Austin. That is the key role of the mayor, is to facilitate all of that through relationships with his council members, relationships with city staff, and relationships with other governments and businesses and neighborhoods. That's what I've done for 16 years, and I want to continue to do that as your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. And thank you all for your responses to that question. For our final question, I'd like to incorporate a question that comes directly from our audience this afternoon. How do you deal with disagreements or plan to manage disagreements with constituents, council members, etc.? For this question, we'll start with you, Clay.
There we go. Disagreements are important in a democracy. We're always going to have differing views, different opinions, and how to go forward. but we have to have people who are skilled in bringing about consensus, focusing on the common ground that we have. When we're hyper focused on the differences that we have, we're going to get more and more polarized. But if we can focus on the commonalities and build from there, then we're able to reach some great solutions. We're really able to move our city forward. So I think when you're dealing with disagreement, you have to recognize the other side. You have to recognize that the other side has value and that they have a valuable opinion. And then sharing. It's a collaborative process where you're sharing ideas, you're respecting each other, and you're moving forward. So I think that's what, when it comes to disagreements, I think it's vitally important that when we've got reasonable, rational people who have proceeding with goodwill, we're able to accomplish a lot. And I've done that in the past. I've done that in mediations. I've done that as an attorney with clients, with opposing counsel, with other parties. It's second nature, because that's what I deal with every day, is disagreements. So we can argue fiercely, but we have to recognize that each has, we have to listen to each other so we can go forward.
Thank you, Clay. Kurt, same question.
Disagreements are part of living and part of being in local government. All of us have our own priorities and our own challenges and our own views of how things should happen and how the city should operate and how our community should interact with each other. That's why it's so important that we continue to use processes that we've used in the past and tweak them for the future. So when we do public processes, we gather input from everybody and try to find a consensus. And consensus enables us to prioritize the limited resources that we have as a community. So in my 16 years on the council, I've had many disagreements in people's backyards and in neighbors' living rooms. And I am proud of my skill of being able to listen and talk and work through those issues. You know, sometimes we're able to get the problem solved, and you know, sometimes, you know, it just can't happen for various reasons. But we have those discussions. That's what I've done my whole career here on the city council, and we'll continue to do that. And we need to continue to get better at it. You know, we are a changing community. We're becoming more diverse, which is wonderful. And we need to make sure that we consider and hear and discuss all viewpoints when we make decisions. But at the end of the day, the job is to make a decision. I've been in the committee room making decisions on budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, same question.
Okay, great, thank you. Disagreements, they happen everywhere in all phases of your life, whether it's at home or in business or in government or anywhere else. The role of the leader is to bring people together to make a decision. The key to that, in my experience as a business leader and a manager and up from 40 of those 44 years, is that you need to have integrity and honesty with full disclosure. We're not dealing with national security issues here. We should be able to have full transparency and full disclosure of the things that we're dealing with. We need to be honest, have accountability for the decisions we make, and we will build trust with our constituents and other members of the council. It's important on the council that you have relationships with those people. If you don't, they won't even trust you, and then you'll have a leadership problem forever. You need to have that respect and trust. You need to be able to have an environment where everyone, residents and the council, can air their differences. You need to listen. You can have debate. You need to consider their ideas and be transparent, and then work through the process to coalesce into a decision. And everyone will have been on board. Not everyone will always agree, but the key thing is to allow people to know that they've been heard, they've been considered fairly, accurately. A different decision might have been made, but they have to feel a part of the process and in part of the engagement to get to the point that you got to make that decision, unlike some of the decisions that have been made recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Ferris, same question.
All right. I think once the element of respect enters the room and logics, I think the disagreements immediately become less of a factor there. As a matter of fact, in crisis management or disagreement negotiations, the first thing they say is that to bring the level of stress and pressure down. So the first approach that I think needs to be there is that you take the credit-taking game away. You essentially put your ideas as a research proposal in front of your colleagues, and then you give them the evidence, and then everybody could take credit for accepting what evidence is telling you. Once the respect is there, once the data and the research is there, then it's not a personal game. Now, having that said, you still, in the realms of politics, you still move forward with situations that you provide evidence, you put it in front of the opposing party, let's say the ones that debate you, and you continue that. At that point, in my opinion, your fiduciary duty kicks in. The red line at the end of the day is your fiduciary duty to your people. That cannot be crossed under any banner of, oh, let's get along, let's do this together. The fiduciary duty needs to be kept, and that has been my style. My style has been that I always provide references. I always provide studies. It has been a number of situations I said, I will take my suggestion back. You guys suggested, and I will agree with it. So I think in a group of human beings with the psychology, everybody is smart, everybody technical, if the view is on research and evidence and logics and not indoctrination, I think disagreements would go away. Or if they don't go away, at least we build up a result at the end of it. And I think that's a very fruitful approach.
Thank you, Ferris.
To that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt, same question.
Didn't I just answer it? Sorry.
Yes, one moment, please. I am getting a message from my team. Just a second.
You scared me there for a second.
That happened to me too.
We want to see if you're going to give the same answer.
Thank you. So to update Clay, that'll be you. Same question.
I'm sorry, didn't I answer this question first?
Like we've gotten our order mixed up. Just one moment.
I think we have all answered it, if I'm not.
All right.
Incorrect.
Yes, from my recollection, I remember everyone answering this question. So that is a clear sign that we are close to time here. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and give everyone 1 minute to make closing remarks. Thank you all for your participation this afternoon. Thank you all to the attendees for being a part of this discussion. And for closing remarks, we'll start with you, Kurt.
Thank you, Lene. First of all, I'm honored to be here. It's been a great discussion. On August 3rd, the residents of Overland Park are going to make a decision about the future direction of the city. I'm focused, as I have been for the last 16 years, on strong, safe neighborhoods, on growing and attracting high-paying jobs, and strong partnerships with public education. My wife, Amy, and I moved to Overland Park 26 years ago when she was pregnant with our youngest. And we found a wonderful house that has become our home in a great Overland Park neighborhood. Our kids attended Shawnee Mission schools, and And now we're hoping that our grandchildren as well will attend Shawnee Mission schools. I have a passion for local government, and I have displayed that through all of my different activities. And I would ask for your vote on August 3rd to be mayor of Overland Park to keep us moving forward.
Thank you, Kurt. Mike, same question.
Okay, as I said, Overland Park is an outstanding community to live in, but it's changing and not all for the better. Overdevelopment is our #1 and most pressing problems that must be addressed. Residents must take the city back from the grip of the developers. Growth at all costs is not a beneficial strategy for our residents. Apartment development is increasing congestion and overburdening roads and highways. We're getting too many traffic lights, and now we have a toll on 69 highway. Tax subsidies must be reined in. They can be valuable, as I said, arrows in your quiver. Use judiciously only for businesses that are coming in that can add jobs like a Boeing if they want to leave Seattle. Stop rising violent and property crime. Support the police. Use tax dollars more effectively and stop raising taxes. We have to reduce our tax and spend habit. We need to support law enforcement. We need to stop overdevelopment. Please put my 44 years of business executive experience to use.
Thank you, Mike. Thank
in
you.
Overland Park.
Closing remarks, Ferris.
All right, thank you very much. Overland Park is a beautiful city. We need to protect it. We need to keep the quality of life and enhance it. You have seen me with you in your neighborhoods, from Brook Ridge to Downtown Park, from Morse Elementary School to Ranch Mart South. If you needed me, I was there listening to you. My priorities are your priorities. The function of government, in my opinion, is to find the most logical, research-based, evidence-based way to make your priorities happen. And I have shown that. It's not narratives. It's something that I have done for you. I have been there when you were asking for transparency. I have been there trying to put your tax dollars away from the pocket of the special interest groups back to your pocket and the pocket of your future generation. And I will pursue that. Overland Park can be a national model for an evidence-based government that has put the priority of the people first and continues to cater to its residents. And that's what I am after.
Thank you, Ferris.
I have shown it. Thank you.
Thank you. Clay, closing remarks.
All right, my campaign comes down to respecting the past, embracing the future, and empowering the people. We cannot rest on our laurels. What brought us here today, where we are, is not going to get us to where we need to go in the future. It's a highly competitive world, and it's a world that demands dynamic leaders who are out in front and working with residents and other leaders. We must embrace that future. We need forward-thinking, bold new leadership. Our residents are demanding it. They want to keep the good, but want us to go further. We cannot be stuck in the past with the same folks over and over that represent the status quo. We cannot have radical destructive changes that risk losing all we built. We need someone who will fight to preserve all the good, who represents positive change that the residents are demanding. And that's what I bring to the table. We will empower the people through full transparency and accountability, and I will be a mayor who is a fierce advocate for this city.
Thank you, Clay. All right, so that will conclude our Overland Park mayoral candidate forum. Thank you all for your participation and attendance. Thank you to our sponsors and co-sponsors, and we look forward to seeing you all at the polls. Have a great afternoon and evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lene.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Linnea, for moderating this evening, and to the candidates for taking the time to share their perspectives, and our partner organizations that made this forum possible. League of Women Voters of Johnson County, ACLU of Kansas, Advocacy and Awareness Group of Johnson County, the Mid-America LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and Mainstream Coalition. Both the League and Mainstream will post a recording of this forum on Facebook and YouTube, so please find it and share it with your network of voters. Just a reminder that advanced voting began yesterday by mail. Advanced voting in person begins on the 24th. July 27th then is the last day to request an advance ballot for the August 3rd primary election. Before you vote, please visit vote411.org or ksballot.org to read up on candidates' positions, find your polling or drop-off location, and make a plan to vote. And this evening, we're also hosting a forum for OP City Council candidates. We'll hear from wards 1 and 2 at 6:30 and wards 4 and 5 at 7:30. If you haven't yet, you can register at the link in chat. Thank you again for joining us and have a wonderful evening.